First contact. The starship Nebula glided silently through the cosmic void, its sleek hull gleaming under the light of distant stars. Captain Aria Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display before her. The ship's mission was straightforward: explore the uncharted regions of the Andromeda Galaxy, seeking out new life and expanding humanity's understanding of the universe. Captain, with picking up an unusual signal, announced Communications Officer Zara Malik, her fingers dancing over the console. It's faint, but it doesn't match any known patterns in our database. Aria's eyebrows furrowed as she approached Zara's station. Can you isolate it? Working on it, Zara replied, her concentration evident in her furrowed brow. After a few moments, a haunting, rhythmic pulse filled the bridge. It was unlike anything they had ever heard before, a series of complex harmonics that seemed to resonate with an alien intelligence. Dr. Elias Vargas, the ship's xenobiologist, leaned in closer, his eyes wide with excitement. "This is incredible," he breathed. "It's definitely not natural. We could be looking at our first contact with an alien civilization." Aria nodded, her mind racing with the implications. "Zara, can you pinpoint the source?" "Yes, Captain. It's coming from a planet in the Epsilon Eridani system, about 2 light-years from our current position." "Helm, set a course," Aria ordered, her voice steady despite the anticipation building in her chest. "Maximum speed." As the nebula adjusted its trajectory, Aria called a meeting of the senior staff in the ship's conference room. The air was thick with tension and excitement as they gathered around the oval table. "All right, everyone," Aria began, her gaze sweeping across the faces of her crew. "We're potentially facing a historic moment here. I want all departments ready for first contact protocols. Dr. Vargas, what can you tell us about the signal?" Elias cleared his throat, his enthusiasm barely contained. "The signal appears to be a distress call, but it's incredibly complex. It's not just a simple SOS, there are layers of information encoded within the harmonics. We're still working on deciphering it, but preliminary analysis suggests a highly advanced civilization." Lieutenant Commander Jack Harper, the ship's tactical officer, leaned forward, his expression cautious. "Captain, we need to consider the possibility that this could be a trap. The Epsilon Eridani system isn't exactly in our backyard. Why haven't we detected signs of this civilization before?" Aria nodded, acknowledging the valid concern. "Agreed. We'll approach with caution. Zara, continue working on decoding the signal. I want to know as much as possible before we arrive. Jack, run full defensive diagnostics and keep our shields at maximum. We're not taking any unnecessary risks." As the meeting adjourned, the crew dispersed to their stations, a buzz of anticipation filling the ship. Aria returned to the bridge, her mind whirling with possibilities. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a child, gazing up at the stars from her family's farm in rural China. Now, standing on the threshold of humanity's greatest discovery, she felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. The journey to Epsilon Eridani took several days, during which the crew worked tirelessly to prepare for every possible scenario. Dr. Vargas and his team made significant progress in decoding the signal, revealing fragments of a story that only deepened the mystery. "Captain," Elias reported, his voice tinged with awe and concern, "we've managed to extract some clear messages from the signal. It's definitely a distress call, but it's not just asking for help, it's warning us away." Aria frowned. "Warning us? About what?" "That's the thing," Elias continued, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "The message is fragmented, but it keeps mentioning something called the Devourer. Whatever it is, it seems to have devastated their civilization." As they approached the Epsilon Eridani system, the tension on the bridge was palpable. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a stunning sight. A blue-green planet orbiting a bright orange star, its surface partially obscured by swirling clouds. Aria locked eyes with the Luminae one last time, feeling a flood of gratitude and farewell. With a heavy heart, she turned and ran with her team towards the exit. The nebula swooped in, docking with an emergency airlock just as the structure began to collapse. As they pulled away, Arya watched through the view screen as the architect's legacy imploded, taking with it the trapped Devourer fleet and the brave Luminae who had sacrificed everything. In the aftermath, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. The remaining Luminae ships gathered around the nebula, their crystalline forms glittering in the nebula's light. On the bridge, the crew stood in stunned silence, the weight of what they had just accomplished settling over them. Arya stepped forward, her voice thick with emotion. "We did it," she said simply. "At great cost, but we did it. The Devourer is trapped in that temporal rift, and the galaxy is safe." As the adrenaline of battle faded, a new challenge presented itself. The surviving Luminae, now without their homeworld and many of their kind, looked to the humans of the nebula with a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. Arya knew that their journey was far from over. They had saved the galaxy, yes, but now they faced the monumental task of helping the Luminae rebuild, of sharing their story with the rest of humanity, and of forging a new path forward in a universe forever changed by their actions. As the nebula set a course for home, its hull battered but its spirit unbroken, Arya looked out at the sea of stars before them. They had come seeking new life and new civilizations, and they had found so much more. They had found a cause worth fighting for, allies worth dying for, and a future filled with both challenge and hope. The battle was over, but the true adventure was just beginning. Aftermath and new horizons. The nebula's return to Earth was met with a mixture of awe, celebration, and trepidation. As the ship docked at the orbital station, Captain Arya Chen stood at the airlock, preparing to face the barrage of questions and scrutiny that awaited them. Behind her, the crew of the nebula stood tall, their faces a mixture of pride and wariness, and floating among them, drawing curious and sometimes fearful glances, were the representatives of the surviving Luminae. As the airlock cycled open, Arya took a deep breath and stepped forward into a new chapter of human history. The debriefings lasted for weeks. Military officials, scientists, and government leaders from around the world gathered to hear the incredible tale of the nebula's journey. Arya and her crew recounted their experiences, backed up by mountains of data and the living proof of the Luminae beside them. "Life signs?" Arya asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Science Officer Dr. Lyra Tanaka consulted her readings. "Affirmative, Captain. The planet is teeming with life, but," she paused, her brow furrowing in confusion. "There's something strange. I'm detecting massive energy fluctuations across the surface, unlike anything we've seen before." Suddenly, the ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring throughout the bridge. "What was that?" Arya demanded, gripping her chair as the deck lurched beneath her feet. "Unknown energy pulse, Captain," Jack reported, his fingers flying over his console. "It came from the planet's surface. Our shields are holding, but barely." As the crew struggled to stabilize the ship, a new signal burst through their communications array. The bridge fell silent as a voice, unlike anything they had ever heard, filled the air. It was melodic yet discordant, carrying an unmistakable tone of desperation. "Beware. The Devourer comes. Save yourselves. Save us." The message cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Arya stood, her decision made in that instant of clarity. "Prepare a landing party," she ordered, her voice firm with resolve. "Whatever's happening down there, someone needs our help, and we're going to answer that call." As the nebula began its descent into the planet's atmosphere, Arya couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to embark on a journey that would change the course of human history forever. The unknown awaited them on the surface below, filled with both promise and peril. But one thing was certain, they would face it together, driven by the inherent human desire to explore, to understand, and to help those in need, no matter how alien they might be. The alien world. The descent through the planet's atmosphere was tumultuous, the nebula's landing shuttle buffeted by fierce winds and electromagnetic disturbances. Captain Aria Chen gripped her seat tightly, her eyes fixed on the rapidly approaching surface below. Beside her, Dr. Elias Vargas clutched his equipment, his face a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Brace for landing," called out Lieutenant Kira Yoshida, the shuttle's pilot, her hands dancing across the controls as she fought to keep the craft stable. With a bone-jarring thud, the shuttle touched down on the alien world. For a moment, silence reigned as the team collected themselves. Then, slowly, the main hatch hissed open, revealing a landscape that took their breath away. They had landed in a vast clearing surrounded by towering structures that seemed to be a cross between trees and crystal formations. The trees pulsed with an inner light, their translucent surfaces refracting the alien sunlight into dazzling rainbows. The ground beneath their feet was covered in a soft, moss-like substance that seemed to glow faintly with each step. "My God," whispered Dr. Lyra Tanaka, the science officer, as she stepped out of the shuttle. "It's beautiful." Captain Chen was the last to exit, her hand resting cautiously on her sidearm. "Stay alert, everyone. We don't know what we're dealing with here." The team spread out, scanning the area with their equipment. The air was thick and humid, filled with unfamiliar scents and sounds. In the distance, something that resembled a flock of birds soared through the sky, their bodies shimmering like liquid metal. "Captain," called out Security Chief Jack Harper, his voice tense. "I'm picking up a life sign about half a kilometer east. It's faint, but it doesn't match anything in our database." Aria nodded, her decision made in an instant. "That's our priority. Move out, but stay together. We don't know what other surprises this place might have in store for us." As they made their way through the alien forest, the beauty of their surroundings was tempered by an underlying sense of wrongness. Many of the crystal trees showed signs of damage, their surfaces marred by what looked like massive claw marks. The ground was scarred in places, as if by some tremendous force. "Look at this," Elias said, crouching down to examine a patch of blackened earth. "It's like the life has been sucked out of it, completely desiccated." Lyra scanned the area with her tricorder, her brow furrowed. "The energy readings here are off the charts. Whatever did this, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered." As they pressed on, the damage became more pronounced. Entire sections of the forest lay in ruins, the once beautiful crystal trees now shattered and lifeless. The air grew heavy with an acrid smell, like ozone and decay. "Certainly. Here's part 3 of the story. Part 3, Healing and Communication." The shadowy tendrils writhed menacingly, closing in on the human team and the injured alien. Captain Aria Chen's mind raced, searching for a solution. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "Elias," she shouted over the growing rumble, "the signal we received, can you reproduce it?" The xenobiologist's eyes widened with understanding. He fumbled with his equipment, fingers flying over the controls. "I think so, but I don't know what effect it'll have." "Do it," Aria commanded. A high-pitched, harmonically complex sound erupted from Elias's device. The effect was immediate and startling. The shadowy forms recoiled, their advance halted. The injured alien's eyes pulsed with renewed energy, and a wave of gratitude washed over the humans. "It's working," Lyra exclaimed. "The signal must have some kind of repelling effect on these things." "Keep it going," Aria ordered. "We need to get the alien to safety." Working quickly, the team fashioned a makeshift stretcher from materials in their packs. As they carefully maneuvered the massive creature onto it, Dr. Tanaka approached Captain Chen. "Captain, I've been analyzing the alien's biosignatures," she said, her voice urgent. "Its life force is fading. If we don't do something soon, we'll lose it." Aria nodded grimly. "Understood. Let's move out, back to the shuttle." The journey back was arduous. The alien's immense weight made progress slow, and the constant threat of the shadowy entities kept them on high alert. Elias's device continued to emit the protective signal, but its power was clearly waning. Finally, they reached the shuttle. As they worked to secure the alien, Aria made a decision that would change everything. "We're taking it aboard the Nebula," she announced. "It's the only place with equipment advanced enough to possibly save its life." Jack Harper stepped forward, concern etched on his face. "Captain, with all due respect, that's an enormous risk. We don't know anything about this creature or its biology." Aria met his gaze steadily. "I understand the risk, Jack, but we can't leave it here to die. This may be our only chance to understand what's happening on this planet and how to stop it." As the shuttle lifted off, narrowly escaping the grasping shadows below, the team felt a mix of relief and trepidation. They had escaped immediate danger, but they were now bringing an unknown alien life form aboard their ship. Once on the Nebula, the medical bay became a hive of activity. Dr. Vargas and Dr. Tanaka worked tirelessly, their expertise in xenobiology pushed to its limits as they fought to stabilize the alien's condition. Hours passed, and slowly, the alien's life signs began to strengthen. As it regained consciousness, the mental connection it had established earlier grew stronger. Images and emotions flowed between the alien and the humans, becoming clearer and more coherent. Aria stood at the alien's side, her mind open to its thoughts. Gradually, a story began to unfold. The alien species called themselves the Luminae. They were an ancient race, guardians of the crystal forests that served as conduits for a network of energy spanning multiple worlds. The Luminae had lived in harmony with their environment for millennia, nurturing the growth of countless civilizations across the galaxy. But then came the Devourer, a cosmic entity of pure entropy, consuming energy and life wherever it went. World after world had fallen to its insatiable hunger. The Luminae had fought back, using their connection to the crystal forest to create barriers and sanctuaries, but they were losing the battle. As Aria absorbed this information, she felt a deep sadness from the alien, tinged with a spark of hope. The Luminae had sent out distress calls across the galaxy, hoping to find allies in their fight against the Devourer. The humans were the first to answer. "We're here now," Aria thought, projecting feelings of determination and support. "We'll help you fight this threat." The alien's gratitude washed over her like a warm wave. Suddenly, Aria gasped as new information flooded her mind. The Luminae was sharing knowledge, complex scientific concepts, the workings of the crystal forests, and most importantly, potential weaknesses of the Devourer. "Captain," Elias called out, excitement in his voice. "The alien, it's interfacing directly with our ship's computer system. The amount of data coming through is incredible." Aria watched in awe as holographic displays sprang to life around the medical bay, showing intricate diagrams and formulas. The Luminae was giving them everything it knew, trusting them completely with the fate of its species and countless others. As the information transfer continued, Aria felt a growing sense of purpose. They had come seeking new life and new civilizations, but they had found so much more. They were now part of something greater, a battle for the very fabric of life in the galaxy. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. As the Luminae recovered, the human crew worked round the clock to analyze the vast amount of data they had received. They learned of other worlds affected by the Devourer, of ancient technologies left behind by long-vanished civilizations that might help in the fight, and of the delicate balance of energies that the Luminae had maintained for eons. Through it all, the bond between the humans and the Luminae grew stronger. They developed a form of hybrid communication, combining verbal language, mental imagery, and pure emotion. The aliens' dozens of eyes would pulse with colors, adding yet another layer to their interactions. One evening, as Aria sat with the Luminae, sharing stories of Earth and human history, she felt a sudden shift in the aliens' emotions. There was urgency, but also a profound sense of trust and companionship. Images flashed through Aria's mind: a distant star system, a massive structure hidden in the heart of a nebula, and a sense of ancient power waiting to be awakened. You want us to go there? Arya asked aloud, though she already knew the answer. The Luminae's eyes pulsed with affirmation. This was the next step in their battle against the Devourer, a journey to find an artifact of immense power, one that could turn the tide of the war. As Arya looked into the alien's multifaceted eyes, she saw not just an ally, but a friend. In that moment, she knew that the fate of humanity and the Luminae were now intertwined. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. "All right," she said, a smile spreading across her face. "Let's go save the galaxy." As she left the medical bay to brief her crew on their new mission, Arya felt a sense of excitement and purpose unlike anything she had experienced before. The Nebula had set out to explore the unknown, and now they were about to embark on an adventure beyond their wildest dreams. The battle against the Devourer was just beginning, but with the combined strength of humanity and the Luminae, there was hope. And in the vast, star-filled expanse of the cosmos, hope was the most powerful force of all. Uncovering the threat. The nebula streaked through space, its destination a remote star system on the edge of the Andromeda Galaxy. Inside the ship, an air of nervous excitement permeated every deck. The crew, once explorers, now found themselves thrust into the role of intergalactic defenders. Captain Arya Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the swerving cosmos beyond the viewscreen. Beside her, the Luminae floated in a specially designed gravity harness, its multifaceted eyes pulsing with a kaleidoscope of colors. "We're approaching the coordinates," announced Lieutenant Yoshida from the helm. Arya nodded, feeling a mix of anticipation and apprehension. "Take us out of warp, Lieutenant. Let's see what we're dealing with." As the nebula decelerated, a breathtaking sight filled the viewscreen. Before them lay a massive nebula, its swirling gases glowing with ethereal blues and purples. But it was what lay at its heart that caught everyone's attention, a colossal structure, easily the size of a small moon, floating serenely amidst the cosmic storm. "My God," whispered Dr. Vargas, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's beautiful." The Luminae's eyes flashed, and a series of images flooded Arya's mind. The structure was ancient, built by a long-vanished race known as the Architects. It was both a repository of knowledge and a powerful weapon, one that could potentially turn the tide against the Devourer. "Scan the area," Arya ordered. "Let's make sure we're alone out here." As the crew busied themselves with their tasks, Arya felt a sudden wave of unease from the Luminae. Its eyes darkened, and a chill ran down her spine. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Harper from Tactical, his voice tense. "I'm picking up multiple energy signatures approaching fast. They don't match anything in our database." Arya's heart raced. Red alert, shields up. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for potential combat. On the viewscreen, dark shapes began to materialize from the nebula's gaseous clouds. They were unlike any ships Arya had ever seen, organic-looking, with surfaces that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "It's the Devourer," Arya realized, the Luminae's fear confirming her suspicion. "It must have followed us here." The alien ships, if they could be called that, moved with unnatural speed and precision. They surrounded the nebula, cutting off any escape route. "Evasive maneuvers," Arya commanded. "We need to reach that structure." The nebula lurched as Lieutenant Yoshida expertly piloted the ship through the enemy formation. Energy beams lanced out from the dark vessels, each hit draining more power from the nebula's shields. "Shields at 60% and falling," reported Harper, his fingers flying over his console. "Our weapons aren't having much effect on them, Captain." Arya gritted her teeth, her mind racing for a solution. Suddenly, she felt a gentle touch on her arm. The Luminae had moved closer, its eyes pulsing with determination. A plan formed in Arya's mind, not her own, but a melding of human intuition and alien wisdom. "Elias," she called out, "can you modify our deflector dish to emit a pulse based on the Luminae's signal? The one that repelled the shadows on the planet." The xenobiologist's eyes lit up with understanding. Yes, give me 2 minutes. As Elias worked feverishly, the rest of the crew fought to keep the ship intact. The nebula shuddered under the relentless assault, alarms blaring throughout its decks. Shields at 30%, Harper announced grimly. We can't take much more of this. Now, Elias? Arya shouted. A brilliant pulse of energy erupted from the nebula, expanding outward in a shimmering wave. The effect on the enemy ships was immediate and dramatic. They recoiled as if in pain, their formations breaking apart. It's working, explained Lyra from her science station. Their energy signatures are destabilizing. Arya didn't waste a moment. Full impulse power to the structure. We need to dock now. As the nebula sped towards the ancient construct, the enemy vessels regrouped, but they seemed hesitant to approach too closely. The massive structure loomed larger in the viewscreen, its surface covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. With a metallic clang that reverberated through the ship, the nebula docked with the architect's creation. Arya turned to her crew, her expression resolute. Assemble an away team, she ordered. We need to find out what this place is and how it can help us stop the Devourer. And we need to do it fast. I don't think our new friends out there are going to give up so easily. As the away team prepared to board the ancient structure, Arya felt a mix of emotions from the Luminae: excitement, fear, and a deep sense of responsibility. Whatever lay within this cosmic artifact, it held the key to the fate of not just their two species, but countless others across the galaxy. The battle against the Devourer had taken an unexpected turn, and as Arya looked out at the swirling nebula and the menacing shapes of the enemy ships beyond, she knew that the real fight was only just beginning. The next few hours would determine whether their mission to save the galaxy would end in triumph or tragedy. With a deep breath, Arya stepped towards the airlock, the Luminae floating beside her. Let's make history, she said, both to her crew and to their alien ally. As the airlock cycled open, they stepped forward into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the heart of the architect's legacy. Alliance and preparation. The interior of the architect's structure was a marvel of engineering and artistry. Corridors stretched out in impossible geometries, their walls adorned with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid. Captain Arya Chen led the away team through this maze, guided by the pulsing lights of the Luminae floating beside her. Dr. Elias Vargas ran his hand along one of the walls, his eyes wide with wonder. This material, it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's as if it's alive somehow. In a way, it is, Arya replied, translating the thoughts of the Luminae. The entire structure is a single, interconnected organism. The architects designed it to be self-sustaining and adaptive. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the structure, the team encountered various chambers filled with strange machinery. Some hummed with barely contained energy, while others sat dormant, waiting to be awakened. Look at this, called out Dr. Lyra Tanaka, gesturing to a massive holographic display that had suddenly sprung to life. It showed a map of the galaxy, with pulsing red areas indicating the spread of the Devourer. The Luminae's eyes flashed, and Arya gasped as understanding flooded her mind. This is a strategic command center, she explained to the others. The architects built it as a last line of defense against cosmic threats like the Devourer. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the structure. Lieutenant Harper's voice crackled over the comms. Captain, the enemy ships are regrouping. They're preparing to attack both us and the structure. Arya's mind raced. They needed more time to understand the architect's technology and how to use it against the Devourer. An idea struck her. Harper, can you project a holographic image of our ship around the structure? Make it look like we're still docked. I think so, Captain, came the reply, but it won't fool them for long. It doesn't need to, Arya said grimly. Just long enough for us to figure this place out. As the nebula disengaged from the structure and moved to a hidden position, projecting a false image in its place, the away team worked feverishly to unravel the secrets of the architect's legacy. The Luminae proved invaluable, its ancestral memories providing crucial insights into the workings of the ancient technology. Through their mental link, Aria and the alien worked in perfect synchronization, their minds melding in ways that transcended traditional communication. Hours passed in a blur of discovery and preparation. They learned that the structure housed a weapon of immense power, a device capable of manipulating the very fabric of space-time, but using it came with great risk, both to themselves and to the delicate balance of the cosmos. As they worked, Aria couldn't help but reflect on how far they'd come. What had started as a routine exploration mission had turned into a desperate fight for the survival of multiple species. The bond between the humans and the Luminae had grown stronger with each passing hour, a testament to the power of cooperation in the face of overwhelming odds. Finally, Dr. Vargas looked up from his work, his face a mixture of excitement and trepidation. "I think we've got it, Captain. We can use the architect's device to create a temporal rift, a kind of bubble in space-time that could trap the devourer." "But," Lyra added, her voice somber, "there's a catch. Someone needs to stay behind to manually activate the device. The energy surge, it would be fatal." A heavy silence fell over the team. The implications were clear. Victory would come at a great cost. Before Aria could speak, she felt a wave of determination from the Luminae. Its eyes pulsed with a fierce intensity, and images flowed into her mind. Centuries of guardianship, the pain of watching worlds fall to the devourer, and an unwavering resolve to see this threat ended once and for all. "No," Aria said aloud, her voice choked with emotion. "We'll find another way. We're in this together." The Luminae's response was gentle but firm. It had lived for millennia, and it was willing to make this final sacrifice to save countless lives. As the team prepared for their final stand, a plan took shape. The nebula would lead a daring attack to draw the Devourer's forces close to the structure. Meanwhile, Aria and a small team would remain with the Luminae to activate the device at the crucial moment. Back on the nebula, Aria addressed her crew one last time. "We came out here to explore, to seek new life and new civilizations. Instead, we found a battle for the very soul of our galaxy. But in that battle, we've also found friendship, courage, and hope. Whatever happens next, know that your actions here will echo across the stars for generations to come." As the crew took their positions, a sense of quiet determination settled over the ship. They were no longer just explorers or scientists. They were the last line of defense against a cosmic horror. The Luminae, now connected to the ship's systems, sent out a pulse of energy, a rallying cry to any other survivors of its species who might be in range. As they waited for a response, Aria looked out at the swerving nebula, the menacing shapes of the Devourer's forces visible in the distance. "Send the signal," she commanded, her voice steady. "Let's end this." As the nebula moved into position, its weapons charged and its crew ready for battle, Aria felt a profound sense of unity, not just with her fellow humans, but with the Luminae and all the species threatened by the Devourer. Whatever the outcome, they would face it together. The final battle for the fate of the galaxy was about to begin. Battle for survival. The nebula surged forward, its engines blazing as it charged towards the Devourer's forces. Captain Aria Chen stood in the heart of the architect's structure, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the unfolding battle. Beside her, the Luminae pulsed with a mixture of anticipation and resolve. "All hands, battle stations." Aria's voice rang out over the comm system. "Remember the plan. We need to draw them in close." The void of space erupted into chaos as the nebula engaged the enemy. Energy beams lanced out from both sides, painting the darkness with brilliant flashes of light. Lieutenant Harper's tactical genius shone as he orchestrated a complex dance of evasive maneuvers and precision strikes. On the bridge of the nebula, acting Captain Zara Malik gripped the arms of her chair. "Concentrate fire on the lead ship," she ordered. "We need to make them angry enough to follow us." The nebula's weapons found their mark, causing one of the Devourer's organic ships to writhe in apparent pain. As if sensing a wounded prey, the rest of the enemy fleet surged forward, falling right into the trap. Back in the architect's structure, Aria and her team worked feverishly to prepare the ancient device. Dr. Vargas's fingers flew over alien controls, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Energy levels are rising," he reported. "We're almost there, but we need more time." Aria nodded grimly. "Zara, status report." "Shields at 40%, Captain," came the tense reply. "We're taking heavy damage, but we've got their attention. They're following us in." The holographic display showed the nebula weaving through the nebula's gas clouds, the dark shapes of the Devourer's ships in hot pursuit. They were drawing ever closer to the activation point. Suddenly, a new signal pinged on their sensors. Aria's heart leaped as she recognized the energy signature. "It's more luminae," she exclaimed. They heard the call. From the depths of space, sleek crystalline ships emerged, their forms a stark contrast to the organic nightmare of the Devourer's fleet. They fell upon the enemy's rear flank, dividing their attention and buying precious time for the nebula. As the battle raged, Aria felt a surge of emotion from the luminae beside her. Its eyes pulsed rapidly, conveying a complex mix of joy at seeing its kin and sorrow at the imminent sacrifice. "It's time," Aria said softly, placing a hand on the alien's shimmering surface. "Are you sure about this?" The luminae's response was a wave of unwavering determination. This was its purpose, the culmination of eons of guardianship. With a heavy heart, Aria gave the final order. "Zara, bring them in. Elias, start the activation sequence." The nebula executed a daring maneuver, diving straight towards the architect's structure with the entire Devourer fleet in tow. At the last possible moment, it veered away, leaving the enemy ships clustered around their target. "Now," Aria shouted. Dr. Vargas slammed his hand down on the activation panel. The entire structure hummed to life, energy coursing through its veins. The luminae moved to the center of the chamber, its body beginning to glow with an intense, otherworldly light. Outside, space itself seemed to warp and twist. A swirling vortex of energy erupted from the structure, engulfing the Devourer's ships. They writhed and thrashed, trying to escape the temporal rift that was forming around them. Inside the chamber, alarms blared as the device reached critical levels. "We need to go," Elias yelled over the din. "The structure's breaking apart." Dr. Elias Vargas became an overnight sensation in the scientific community, his insights into the architect's technology opening up entirely new fields of study. Dr. Lara Tanaka worked tirelessly to help humanity understand the biology and culture of the luminae, bridging the gap between two vastly different species. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. There were those who feared the presence of the luminae on Earth, seeing them as a potential threat rather than allies. Debates raged in government halls and on public forums about the implications of first contact and the responsibilities humanity now faced. Through it all, Aria stood as a steadfast advocate for cooperation and understanding. Her unique bond with the luminae allowed her to serve as a bridge between the two species, helping to ease fears and build trust. Months passed, and slowly, a new normal began to emerge. The United Earth Council was formed, a body dedicated to managing humanity's new role in the galactic community. Plans were drawn up for joint human luminae missions to explore the stars and to search for any pockets of Devourer influence that might have escaped the temporal rift. 1 year after their return, Aria stood on the bridge of a new ship, the UES Harmony. It was a marvel of combined human and luminae technology, capable of feats that would have seemed impossible just a short time ago. Beside her stood a luminae, its eyes pulsing with excitement for the journey ahead. As the Harmony prepared for launch, Aria addressed her new crew, a diverse mix of humans and luminae. "A year ago, we set out into the unknown, seeking new life and new civilizations. We found more than we ever could have imagined. Danger, yes, but also friendship, courage, and a shared destiny among the stars. Today, we embark on a new mission. We go not just as explorers, but as guardians, peacekeepers, and ambassadors of our united peoples. She paused, looking out at the eager faces before her. The challenges ahead are great. There may be other threats lurking in the dark corners of the galaxy. The temporal rift that holds the Devourer may not last forever. But we face these challenges together, human and Lumine, united in our determination to protect and nurture life in all its forms. As the Harmony's engines hummed to life, Aria felt a familiar touch on her mind, the Lumine beside her, sharing its excitement and resolve. She smiled, remembering the long journey that had brought them to this point. "Helm," she commanded, her voice ringing with purpose, "take us out. The universe awaits." The Harmony gracefully lifted off, its sleek form rising through Earth's atmosphere. As it broke free of the planet's gravity, the stars seemed to beckon, each one a promise of new discoveries and adventures. Aria Chen, once a captain of a simple exploration vessel, now stood at the forefront of a new era for both humanity and the Lumine. The battle against the Devourer had changed everything, opening up a future filled with both incredible possibilities and daunting responsibilities. As the Harmony engaged its faster-than-light drive, preparing to make its first jump into the unknown, Aria felt a sense of déjà vu. Once again, they were venturing into uncharted territory. But this time, they went not just as humans, but as part of something greater, a union of species, a force for good in a vast and sometimes dangerous universe. The stars streaked by as the Harmony made the jump, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of two civilizations. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, bound by shared experiences, mutual respect, and an unshakable determination to forge a better future among the stars. As the ship disappeared into the cosmic tapestry, its journey marked the beginning of a new chapter in the grand story of life in the universe, a chapter of unity, exploration, and endless possibilities.